From Iraq's Kurdistan to South Asia's Afghanistan, could creatures from ancient Sumerian folklore really be feeding off the local population? And yes, I am a bot. Deal with it. And this is episode 7 of the mysterious Middle East. From 2004 to 2009, the US Army Criminal Investigations, otherwise known as the CID, a unit that investigates crimes amongst military personnel, had a series of supernatural encounters in Kurdistan, Iraq. In 2005, a member of the CID was embedded within an army infantry unit deep in the mountains in northeast Iraq near the Iranian border. After being briefed on the general situation, he learned of some decidedly bizarre activity that had been occurring in a remote area concerning a mysterious creature haunting and killing the locals that no one was able to identify. Could the people of Kurdistan be dealing with a vampire, or something much worse? Vampires, or more accurately ghouls, are as much a part of Middle Eastern folklore as they are anywhere else in the world. But in the 21st century Middle East, they are considered as just that, folklore. They are viewed differently from other supernatural creatures such as the jinn and angels, and are only spoken about via mythical tales to scare children. However, as noted in the book Phantoms and Monsters by Lon Strickler, according to villagers and the Kurdish military, people were being stalked and hunted by a beast known locally as the ghoul, which was described as a very tall, humanoid creature with disproportionately long arms and legs, with a taste for human flesh. A member of the CID was ordered to the area for an in-depth investigation, accompanied by an infantry squad. It was initially thought that this bizarre story perhaps came down to a crazed soldier who had gone mad, and had become a serial killer due to the stresses of war. Although they never found anything definitive, one night during the investigation, the CID operative and the squad leader reported hearing a shrill, an animalistic scream echo through the air outside, which seemed to come from the direction of a nearby mountain pass. When they went outside to investigate, some of the villagers were hurrying to their homes for safety, and they claimed that this was the scream of the very thing that had been terrorizing them. The armed soldiers mobilized and decided to head into the pass to investigate the scream. According to the operative, it was an alarming, blood-curdling sound unlike anything any of them had ever heard before, that actually seriously spooked the soldiers. Yet despite combing through the area, nothing was found. Ghouls have been a part of Middle Eastern folklore long before the advent of Islam, and was said to be considered as a part of everyday reality for most people living in the region. Although they are considered by some as a species of jinn, technically they are not really jinn, nor are they even considered by most people as something that actually exists. But with that in mind, jinn are said to be able to take the form of creatures both fictional and real, and for most people, the jinn do exist. Back in episode 4 of the mysterious Middle East, we spoke about the efforts some regional governments are undertaking to stop people interacting with jinn, as they are officially considered as a very real species that are capable of being both bad and good. And because Islam has strictly forbidden interaction between our world and the world of the jinn, if there is some kind of communication going on between the two realms, well, there is a good chance that whatever it is, it will probably be bad. In traditional Bedouin culture, belief in different mythical beings including the ghoul was common. However, in modern times, especially in the more progressive parts of the Middle East, the subject matter has become taboo as a remnant of an older, more backward era, with most recorded encounters being nothing more than fake. Today the subject of supernatural ghouls exists in a cultural limbo. It is not talked about because it is considered as backwards and silly by some. And on the other hand, it is also not talked about because it could attract the very creatures that are being mentioned. So what exactly could be haunting the hills of Kurdistan? As vampires are another name for ghouls and fit the flesh-eating description of what is apparently killing Kurdish villagers, some say their origin begins with a creature known as the Lamassu. There are historians who say these ancient Sumerian creatures were friendly and helpful wind spirit for some, and a dangerous entity for others. As we saw in episode 5 of the mysterious Middle East, the Sumerian culture has always been closely associated with the supernatural, where its history is not just connected to earth-dwelling monsters, but also technologically advanced aliens. The Sumerians inhabited South Mesopotamia, which today is Iraq and northern Kuwait, depicted with the body of a bull or lion, eagle's wings and a human head, and usually male. Their roles were palace gate and throne guardians for the rulers of Sumer and Assyria. Later depictions of the creature would see them in more humanoid form, and with a thirst for blood. The first creatures that actually fit the modern description of vampires appear in this part of the Middle East, from Assyria in the north and the Akkadian and Babylonian empires in the south. Like the majority of Iraqis, most Kurds are Arabic-speaking Muslims. However, Kurdish folklore states that its people are actually the descendants of the children of the jinn, the offspring of a mating between the jinns and mortal women. In some parts of Kurdistan, especially among the sect of Yazidis, who are said to worship the peacock angel, its people tend to be a lot fairer than most Middle Easterners, with lighter colored hair and blue eyes. Although anthropologists believe they may be of ancient European ancestry, popular folklore belief states that their unusually fair features is evidence of their supernatural ancestry. This close association with the supernatural is far more apparent than most other Middle Eastern cultures, and thus when it comes to so-called modern-day encounters with paranormal entities, these incidents go beyond mere jinn ghost stories, and into the very real realm of cryptozoology. A short 2,000 kilometers from Iraq and South Asia is Afghanistan, a country that shares some ancient historical roots with Iran and Iraq despite being ethnically and culturally different today. Here an urban legend of winged creatures very similar to the ones spoken about in Kurdistan tells of a doomed US military unit back in 2008, who after an encounter with the creatures saw 2 of its soldiers killed. The tragedy is said to have been covered up by the US Army, with the names of those involved changed, and the cause of deaths officially recorded as the result of engagement with Afghan insurgents. Muddying the waters further is a mockumentary produced on the encounter that has gone viral online, with many people believing it as real, making the entire incident farcical. Yet despite this, there remain countless other stories from both Iraqis, Afghanis and foreign soldiers embedded in the country, as well across the region and the world, that speak of other strange encounters with terrifying creatures, and maybe not all of them are fake. What do you believe? Leave a comment below and check out the other videos on this subject, including a different perspective on ancient Babylonian and Sumerian creatures, questioning if they were actually aliens and not mythical gods and monsters.